Hello and welcome to TidyX episode 140. TidyX is a screencast where we go through and explain how our code works. My name's Ellis Hughes.
My name's Patrick Ward. Thanks again for checking out TidyX. And as always, if you like the work that we're doing and you want to stick along and maybe drop some questions in, like and subscribe on that YouTube channel, hit us up. We're going to be answering a viewer question today. Actually, hit us up via email instead of the YouTube, but either way. And as always, if the work that we're doing you feel like has benefited you in some way and you'd like to make a friendly contribution to our work, we do have a Patreon page. Other than that, we're going to jump into today's question. It comes from Andres or Andre Langerlof.
Yes, we've
Hopefully,
been seeing you
we
like our
pronounce
posts
it
for,
right.
for a while
Yes.
now. We really appreciate you being a fan.
Yeah, we
And
really
so hopefully
appreciate
we
you.
do this question justice for you.
Yeah. So, Ellis, you want to walk through the question, and
For
then we'll
sure,
kind
yeah.
of
So
get
we got
into.
an
We
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 got an
both
email.
separately broke this up, so we
Yeah,
we did it.
we
Yeah.
so you'll get to see two different approaches, the way that we both interpreted the question and came to solutions. So I think this is going to be a great example of a bunch of different techniques that folks can use to solve this sort of problem. So anyway, the question that we got was, I've got this data set of venue, category, gender, and participant. We don't know necessarily the number of competitions, number of categories. In this case, they use gender and then participants. But what I want to do is I'm going to want to display it in this single column that says competition listed first, then the two different kind of categories. In this case, they had venue, or excuse me, category and gender,
Mhm.
and then list the participants after that. In this case, you can see from the first table we have competition A, red, female, and then Jane and Anna. And then so we want to do competition A, red, comma, female, Jean, new line, Anna. Then blue, comma, female, Hillary, new line again, green. So it's like kind of going down, and I don't know, the way that I thought this would be, like, because it's using competition, is listing like who's competing, where they're competing, who are the people participating in this. So I can totally see, you get a data set and you need to construct this long display in like a report or something like that to give people a high level idea of what the data that they might be looking at, or just like for display purposes. I don't know. Not trying
Yeah.
to tell you exactly how this is going to use, but this was a question that was posed to us.
Yeah.
Um, and so
And
the
the
question was,
way,
how do I take this data set and make it
yeah,
long like that?
and the way
Uh,
that I interpreted it, because I like glanced at it quickly, and I kind of looked at this part here, starting at line 30, and I was like, oh, I'm not really sure what they want here. Is this a just a list? Is it a data table? So the way that I did it was I constructed grouped tables. So I'll walk through mine, which I guess now in kind of reading through it more deeply and seeing that it should be this sort of list kind of format, mine will be wrong.
it,
But
it's right
it's
in
a
a
different
different
way to
way.
solve the problem. It's a
It's
different
right
way
in
to
a
solve the
different way.
problem. So I'll go through mine, and then Ellis will go through his. So this is how I did it. I loaded up Tidyverse and GT, and actually I don't even need GT, so I'm going to delete that. I thought I was going to use it, and I didn't. I typed the data in, so as it came through, Andres was gracious enough to provide us some fake data. So really,
Perfect.
he did an awesome job of going through the way in which to ask a question, an example. Here's some data, fake data, a couple rows, and here's how I want the output to look. So I
Perfect.
load our data, and then I'm going to create a quick little cabal here just to see what it looks like as a full data table. So we saw this before. This was exactly as we had up here at the top of the question. I just made sure I brought it in. It looked normal because I want to recreate this in sort of a list format. So the first approach was, well, let me just try and recreate it in a list format. I'm going to take the data. I'm going to use this split function, and I want to split on venue. So if I do that here, what you'll see is by splitting on venue, I end up getting, venue is the competition name. So I end up getting a list as indicated by a dollar sign here. This is list notation. We could see the venue was competition A, and here were the players and the gender and the category,
Mhm.
competition B and competition
So
C.
split is a base R function that
Mhm.
accepts a vector.
Yep.
I believe, or
Which is why you
maybe
have to do the dot dollar sign.
yeah, and it's going
Yep.
to split it based on changes in the vector that you pass. And so you can, this is a really powerful tool that you can use to split based on a couple different columns and paste it together, and then it'll give you a single entry in a list based on the unique combination of every single group there. So it's actually a really, really nice tool. I use this a lot.
I use this one a ton. Yeah, for sure. And then the only other thing that I added here was, if you notice, it took the data frame, it took this, and it split on each one of the changes in the venue, so A, B, and C, but it retained all of the information in the table. And venue is kind of redundant now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this map function, and I'm going to say, I'm going to pass it a function that's going to say, hey, we're going to pass a vector X here, or a column X here, and a data frame X here, and select out, I want to just drop the column venue from each one of those
Get
lists.
out of here.
And so in doing that, now I have a cool little list. And that, if you wanted to print that out in a markdown file, you could. But I thought maybe we could make this a little nicer. All right, maybe we can make this a little nicer. So what I do is I take this code and I say, hey, let's go ahead and create this comps list. So this is exactly what I just did. So there it is again. And I'm going to create a list of the unique competitions, because I want to use that in a for loop. So here now are my unique competitions, A, B, and C. And just to show you how this would work, let's say I pluck the first element of my comps list. Boom, there it is, right? So that's kind of cool. And if I did, element 2, I'm going to get competition B, etc. So that's what it looks like if I do 1. I want to do that for all of my comps. So I'm going to take this unique comps list vector that I created, and I'm going to say for I in comps, go ahead and run this code, but pluck each I, so each I individually within that vector. And then I add the caption back, because as you notice here, there's no title. I mean, I can't tell which competition it was from. So I put caption I as well. And that's going to give me the I element of this vector as my title. So when I run this, now I have a cool little, and this will print out really nice in Markdown. Cabal in Markdown always looks really good and super clean. So that was my solve. It's a little bit incorrect for what you wanted if you wanted a list. Let's take a look at how Ellis did his. And
Yeah.
he ran tidyverse. He also used this nifty package data pasta, which basically straight from the email, he copy and pasted the
Yeah,
table
it's
in
super
and
nice. It's
loaded
by
it.
Miles McBain. It has a lot of it's an RStudio add-in. It's a package and it has an RStudio add-in, so it allows you to copy something from the internet, like a table from the internet. It could be an HTML table. Then you do go to your add-ins and insert as Tribble, and it gives you that nice output there. So it makes it really easy to read and see what's going on there. So same data as we had before. It was just two different
Yep.
scripts. So we had dat come in two different ways. And I thought it might be fun to show data pasta. The way that I thought I'd approach this is I wanted to do a split as well, like Patrick did. But this time, based on my understanding of the problem, we wanted to drill down basically just before the participant level. So all the other categories. So we do a dat, and in line 25, you can see that I do a group split. However, group split, when it splits, it turns everything into a factor. Essentially, I actually don't know what's going on fully in the back end, but the order in which it does this group split, it's going to be like alphabetical or something like that, and
Mhm.
that's not the order in which necessarily we have the data coming in. So in order for me to keep this, I needed to add line 23. So now I mutate across venue, category, and gender, and I turn them into a factor using the forcats library. In order to keep them in the order in which they were seen, you use the forcats FCT in order. So that's going to turn them like they don't look any different
Mhm.
because they
But you
shouldn't.
could
They're just
see,
factors. So it's converting them from characters into
yeah.
factors, but now they're factors with levels being in the same order in which they first appear. So that gives us some capabilities to ensure that the output order is going to be the same once we do our group split. Once you do a group split, it's just like, or it's very similar to like the split function that Patrick used earlier, where it's now going to return a list. This time it's split by every unique combination of venue, category, and gender. We're then going to go into a map, and we're going to map across every element of that list. That list contains a data frame, and so that of the unique like competition A, category red, gender female. And so that's going to be a row or a data frame of 2 rows. So we're going to pull out venue, category, and gender, but we want the unique values of them. I chose to use unique because we know they are in theory all the same. We could have just grabbed the first value. Don't ask me why I picked one over the other. It's probably more efficient to grab just the first entry, but whatever. I convert venue into a title case because that seemed like a nice thing to do. And then in the output, I have on line 34, I combine venue, I paste together category and gender, and then I list all the participants and convert all the participants' names to title as well. So this will give us a vector, first vendor or a venue, then paste it together category and gender, and then however many participants it had. So we can run that. And let's take a quick look at the output, the dat group list vec. I try to give vaguely useful names, but anyway, we can see that it's a list, right? Because a map returns a list, and we have their vectors of however many entries they had there. So like the first one is 4 because we have 2 participants, Jane and Anna. The third and going on, I think they only have 1 participant, but it could be n number of participants. That's fine. Now I want to, this is a list, not a vector. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this do call function, which takes a couple different arguments. The ones that we use and what I use most regularly is what and args. What is a string representation of the function you want to be using. So in this case, I want to be using the C function. So the concat, it's like building up a vector. And then the second argument is a list that represents the different arguments you're going to be putting into that function. So it does it just like it's just like writing out your function like you normally would. You kind of think about it like that, where it's going to drop in all the entries as arguments into C. So we can run that, and it'll just combine all these guys together. So we can run that, and that combined it all together. We can use then cat to print it all out, and this should give us the exact output that
Separating
Andre...
by the line break. With
Oh yeah, I put a sep in
yeah.
there so it prints it out.
Yep.
New lines every single time. It looks all pretty and nice.
There it is.
So
that looks
there you go.
pretty close to. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it looks pretty. Yeah, that's it.
I think it's pretty much the same. Let us know if we didn't do that. But in the problem statement that was stated, it was put that they wanted a column. And so I wasn't sure if that was just printing that out or if they wanted it in a data frame. So we can do that same sort of manipulation that we did, but rather than going out and creating a vector and combining it all together later on, we can use map DFR, which is map data frame rows. So it's going to expect you to output data frames, and then it's going to vertically stack them for you. So I really like doing that. And then I'm just going to, rather than outputting that vector, it expects a tibble output or a data frame output. So I'm going to do tibble. I'm going to call it my call because I don't know, you can call it whatever you want, and then put that same vector that we generated in there. And so if we run this line of code, rather than a vector output, we're going to get a tibble output with all of the contents in a single column. And that's how you can approach doing it as a my call as well. So you could, do downstream stuff with this data set if you wanted to as well.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's awesome. Thanks for the question. We really appreciate
love
it.
And love getting questions. It's always fun to work on problems that are a little bit different than what I normally, or I'm talking for you too, Patrick, than we normally deal with. This is a unique problem that had me, that required me to think a little bit more about different ways to approach this sort of problem, and not something that I normally have seen before. So I didn't have like a super quick mental model of, oh, I can do it like this. I had some ideas that I had to work through, but this was more or less kind of the idea that I came to pretty quickly.
Yeah, awesome. So
with that, I guess we're going to end episode 140 of TidyX. Thank you all for joining us for so many episodes. As always, my name's Ellis Hughes. You can find me on Twitter at Ellis_Hughes.
And my name is Patrick Ward. You can find me on Twitter at OSPPatrick. You can find both of us on Twitter at Tidy_explained. Tidy.explained@gmail.com is where Andreas reached out to us, and you can reach out to us there as well. Alternatively, the YouTube channel seems to be a great place to connect and drop your questions, comments in. So like and subscribe, do us a favor there, and then have at it. And maybe one of your questions will get onto one of our episodes. And if you feel like the work that we're doing has been a positive impact on your own work and want to contribute to our efforts, we do have a Patreon page. We're always super appreciative of anything that you might give there.
Thank you all so much, and keep on exploring your world.